Well, first of all, thank you for the news. I'm very pleased as a first-term MEP to have been noticed. And I hope that means that some of my statements on the floor of the Parliament and some of the work that I do on the Foreign Affairs Committee with the USA delegation and making amendments and reports that it makes a difference, which means that the work is worthwhile. And yes, obviously, having been a national foreign and defense minister must have helped, both in terms of what I can say, but also because it was at that time that I accumulated a following on social media, which is now giving dividends. Because we are a border country of the European Union and of NATO, geopolitics has mostly tragically impacted on our history in the past. So we take security and foreign policy very seriously. Because our national position is not assured. If we were surrounded by other members of the EU, we would be able to take less interest in security matters, for example, but we're not. So I think you will find that on the flanks, countries and people take more interest in foreign affairs. Well, I started my Twitter account just over 10 years ago when I was foreign minister, and it was a great innovation at that time. So when I tweeted as foreign minister, practically every tweet made news in Poland. It was also controversial at the time. The then opposition criticized me as conducting Twitter diplomacy, and that was supposed to be something bad. But I was not discouraged, and at the time, we, as the foreign ministry, we had a very active social media campaign. We were ahead of the curve in having not just the ministry, but also all the embassies and consulates start social media accounts. And for a while, we were the third most effective foreign ministry in the world in social media, after the Americans and the Russians. And that I think got me noticed among Twitter users and then Facebook users. And I've been building on that ever since. Well, I have just been asked to write the EPP's strategy towards China. And with the Sino-American conflict being perhaps the organizing conflict of the 21st century, we as Europe have to approach this very seriously. But I'm also concerned that in the current EU budget, the Council has drastically cut the Commission's proposal on defense. The Commission's proposal envisaged 13 billion euros over 7 years on things like military mobility or the Peace Fund, which would have enabled us to carry out peace operations using European armed forces. And we are now cutting it, which I think is a mistake. I understand the reasons, but defense is a little bit like the pandemic. It's preparing for that which you cannot predict. And so just because we have the pandemic, we should pay more attention to defense, not less. And in the short run, I have joined the campaign of standing by the political prisoners, which have again appeared in Belarus. As we are speaking, the people of Belarus have come out into the streets in the largest demonstrations ever. And the Belarusian regime, which used to murder its opponents, then imprisoning them, then We had a period of a few years when Belarus didn't have political prisoners, and thanks to that, we were able to collaborate more closely within the framework of Eastern Partnership. But there is a crackdown now again, which will make relations with Europe harder. And I believe that Europe has two strategic directions, the southern direction and the eastern direction, and we should be active in both of them.